And we've been getting a lot of questions about measles since the outbreak began, including, do adults need to get vaccinated again? Well, the CDC says no. If you got both doses of the MMR vaccine as a kid, you are protected for life. So what about that vaccine? Can you have an adverse reaction to it? David Gonzalez verifies the answer to that question for us tonight.
That's right. On our Facebook page, one of our viewers actually sent in this question. Measles is listed as an adverse reaction to the MMR vaccine. And for that answer, we turn to Dr. Catherine Tarosi, an infectious diseases expert at UT Health. The MMR vaccine actually contains the measles virus, but the virus is weakened. The body responds as it would be getting the measles virus. Dr. Tarosi says the immune system, assuming that you are healthy, looks at the vaccine and mounts a response. She says the vaccine can cause side effects and in some rare cases, some symptoms of the measles like a rash. There are people who can't receive the MMR vaccine because of genetic defects, AIDS, chemotherapy, or they're just too young. Experts say people who can't be vaccinated depend on people who are to make sure that the virus doesn't spread. If 90 to 95% of the population is vaccinated, then the measles virus can't spread. So we can verify you can't get a full-blown case of the measles, but you can get the side effects to the vaccine like a rash or fever. Back to you.